Okay, we did this briefly last time. Up here you have your what? Your check register that we talked about a whole lot, right? So it's your records, and you can see, and this is how you would normally keep it, right? You'd have the date column. You would have whether it's a deposit or a check, and then also the check number possibly. You might write that in there, and then also who the check was written to, if applicable, and then the amount. Okay. So everything you need to do this problem, to fill in this problem, is right here. Now, everywhere you see a blank represents some place where you have to put something in. Okay? But trust me, these usually go more quickly than they look like they do. Some of the problems you're going to see, you'll have like 100 blanks to fill in, but a lot of it goes like that. Okay? You only have 10 to 15 problems per chapter. So that's really not overwhelming at the least.
You said per chapter. Which I think this is for chapter what, 4?
Yeah, what's that?
You said per chapter.
Yeah.
Which chapter? We're doing what?
4.
Just 4. Okay.
And then next time we come back, we'll start 5.
Okay.
Okay. So over here, I think it's self-explanatory. You would start off with what? Do you notice how the dates are in numerical or chronological order, right? So from the first transaction all the way to the last. And that is the same way they have it up here. Honestly, if I were creating this problem, I would not have you put this in. You know, but you bring down the drop-down menu and you select the correct date. Remember I showed you last time? You click on the little arrow, it gives you choices. So you can set that up first if you want, and then you can go in and set up this part, which is how I would do it. Any place where you had a check, you would put the check number. Where do we find those? In this column, right? We have 4 checks. How many do we have over here?
4.
4. And again, they go from lowest to highest, right? Mm-hmm. Like check numbers always do, or are supposed to. Okay, next column you have to fill in is the merchant. It's very simple. You just match up the date with the check number, and there's the merchant. The place where you made a purchase, right? The next thing is whether it's a debit or a credit, and all of these, or most of these are debits right here. Again, you go back to the first line, the first transaction, and for AOL, for instance, it's $139.53. Now, we know that's a debit because that's a check we wrote. When we write a check, money comes out of our account, right? Okay? And then what are we doing over here? Notice, don't forget to notice this in the green shaded area. You do not have to put any of this in, only where you see blanks. So this is the beginning balance as of the first of the month or whatever. And the first transaction is a debit of $139.53. Notice the minus sign. If you see a minus sign in there, what does that mean for you?
Negative.
Well, what does it mean you have to do?
Deduct.
You have to put it in. You have to make sure you type it in. Without saying, don't just put in the number without the minus sign.
Oh, gotcha. So are these all correct answers? Is this what it's supposed to look like?
These are correct answers. Now, again, I'll repeat. I know I've said it 3 or 4 times, but I'll repeat it again. Of course, your problem is going to look just like this, but it will be different numbers. These will be different. This will probably be the same, and I think this will be different. Because otherwise, I'd be giving you the answers, right? I'm giving you the problem format, but yours is going to be different. So now, moving right along, we would do the rest of the checks the same way, right? Stop me if you have a question. Okay? Now, what is different about the deposits? See, we have 2 of them, don't we? Right here, on the 19th and the 29th. And those would not be debits, they would be credits. Which means we are going to do what when we calculate the balance? We're going to add those. We're going to subtract all the checks. And what happens after you subtract? You calculate the new balance. So you have to do it for every transaction. See, for this one, we had to calculate the new balance for each one. You have your calculators. You should be able to do it very quickly. Let me scroll back up for a second and see what it says in parentheses. This is something that you have to pay close attention to, very close, in every problem. Because it's in red all the time, in every problem. It will tell you to round your answers, how to round them, to the second decimal place. It also tells you here, negative amounts should be indicated by a minus sign. Do not, never put the dollar sign in the blank. Because what happens is, this thing is very finicky, very picky, and it will not accept your answer if one little thing is wrong. Now it does give partial credit. So any place where you put in a correct answer in a blank, it's going to give you a little green check, as you're going to see. One thing I haven't explained yet, I'm going to wait until I'm done with this. I should be able to finish and have 10 minutes left, is how this works. You have to go through one or two quizzes to really get the hang of it. It will allow you to check your work. What I mean by that is it will tell you if it's right or wrong. It won't give you the answers, correct? Is that how we have it set? And it'll allow you to go back in and retry problems, or try again the problems that you had trouble with or that you missed. Does that make sense? So your attempts are unlimited, as I said in the first day of class.
But the first answer you put in is your answer, period.
Yeah, but you can always go back and correct it. Now, I'm going to show you when we're done. Somebody remind me if I forget. There's two buttons. You haven't taken a quiz yet, so you don't know this. One is submit and one is save. One is submit and one is save. When you save it, if I remember correctly, when you save the quiz, that means you can come back into it later. Once you submit it, now they keep changing this website on me every semester. They even changed some things in it this semester from last semester, which I was a little disappointed in. I'm like, come on, you can change it once every 2 or 3 years. That's enough. But so if something, if I say something that I have to correct in our next class period, then I'll do that. Because remember last semester, there were significant changes from last semester compared to last spring in the way the website works. And it affected the students, so all of us. Back to what I was saying, when you click the save button, it should allow you to come back in and finish, okay? Whenever you hit submit, did it still allow them to go back in and redo it again? I think
if they submitted it and then if they wanted a higher score, they would have to retake the whole thing.
okay.
Yes,
if you hit submit, it'll probably have you retake all the problems, which means not just the ones you missed, but the ones that you got correct. Did you hear what I said? Because you're going to get frustrated if you don't understand this.
But they'll give you different problems. It won't be the same problem.
It will be different problems too.
Yeah, so basically always hit save. Once you know that you've got up to 100% on your quiz, then click submit.
Once you're ready to be done with it.
Completely
Because
done.
after you hit submit, you can still go back in because you have unlimited attempts. But it's going to make it take it over. I think that's what was happening. Now last spring it wasn't set up that way. I don't know if you remember. I remember clearly it wasn't.
So since this is open for a week, we could do a little bit of it every
Yes.
day and save them?
Yes, you could.
How do we get back in them?
You just log back into the website and click on the link for the quiz, and
Okay.
it'll open back up again.
Yeah, and you see that drop down where it says question number 1 of 10?
Yeah.
Okay, you can click that and just go to any question you want.
Mm-hmm.
So what was going on last semester is like a student was stuck on this one question and couldn't figure it out, so she would do all of them, and then she would come into the math lab where I was at and help her with that one question. So, and then once she got them all right, then she would submit
And
it.
she was just using the save button until she was done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's very important to remember, because if you miss one problem and you have to come back and work that one, and you hit submit instead of save, when you go back in, guess what? It's going to be clean, and you're going to have to work it all over again.
So how do you do the check?
I will go through a demonstration. Now, I think the way it doesn't make sense to me, but the way it shows it, I can pretend like I'm a student. Okay, so if we have time, I'll do that today. There's a little button that says check my work, isn't it?
Mhm.
I think it's very obvious. It says
Yeah,
check my work.
At the very bottom,
Like where does it say?
it'll say check my work, and it'll bring up another screen, and either you got a green check mark.
So when you hit check my work button, when you hit check my work, it won't give you the correct answer. So don't think you can hit check, get the correct answer, and then just put it in.
It'll give you like
No.
a red X if it's wrong.
It'll give you a
Yes.
red X if it's wrong, or a green check if it's right. So it'll tell you, if you're not right, but you still have to figure it out.
Is every question worth 2 points?
No, I don't think that's always the case.
Okay.
Are these answers on here, are they rounded to the 2 decimal places?
They are. Okay, so and I had to interrupt the problem because you need to know that stuff. But coming back to this, when we're all said and done, the balance you should get is right here at the bottom. Okay, so do you see how to work this problem? Okay, you ready for another one? Sorry, I gotta check that. All right, I'll show you this one briefly last time. And what is this here?
That's your statement.
This is your record. Again, it's your check register, just like problem 1, right? And then down here is the
Bank statement.
bank statement. Now, if I shrink this too much, we will not be able to see it, the whole thing. But let me show you what's going on, what you have to do. You have to look, and I can scroll back and forth as we're talking about it, but just so you can see the end of the problem, here are the blanks where you have to fill everything in. See them? It's a very short problem, so you look down on this one. Over here on the left-hand side, this is your check register. Over here on this side is the bank statement, which is right here. It's the bank's records. And if you notice, the balances are not equivalent yet, right? Now, where do we get these balances from? These answers are already up here for you. The bank statement balance comes from right here, the last day of the month. See that? Now, your balance, if I just scroll up slightly, see it? It's right there. Do you see where you get those numbers? So that's given to you. You just plug it in. These are the kinds of things you want to write in your notes. Just suggestion. Now we have to do any additions and deductions, for your records and the bank records. So things that have not cleared the banks, have not gotten to the bank yet, they don't know about it yet, like a deposit in transit, or anything that you have, I don't want to say forgotten to add it in. I mean, when I kept the check register, when I did, I would never go in and add my service charge. I'd be like, oh, that's right, I got to add that in. And that's what's happening right here. Okay? So if we look back to the top just for a second. Okay? What you have to do is take a look. And if you notice here, there are certain checks that have cleared that are on your bank statement. So the bank is aware of those checks, right? And then up here, do you have more than 2 checks?
Yes.
Yep.
You have 1, 2, 3, 4. What does that tell you? They only have 2.
There's
So
2
2
waiting.
of those
Have to
are
be
going to be
subtracted.
coming through, right? And then where would you put that at? Down here.
On the right side.
Right here. Now, who remembers what I said last time about outstanding checks that have not cleared the bank yet? Notice you only have 1 blank. You have to add them all together.
Yep.
And you have them in every problem like this. Every problem has outstanding checks. Okay? Every problem like this. So, I didn't mean to start off with that part, but over here, let's take a look back at this part. The service charge. Anytime you see the word charge or fee in a problem like this, that means you're going to have to deduct it from your records. Now take a look at the top. Look at the bank statement. Any charges or fees? Here's one. It's SC, but it stands for service charge. And that is the one that you have to put in your records. It is not in your records, is it?
No.
No, but it's in the bank's records. So, see where we added that in, or deducted it? Subtract that from the previous balance. Here's our new balance. This is a very short problem, okay? That's all you have to do on your side. Now on this side, what was the only thing left to do? We get the checks. Deposit in transit. So that deposit of $196, if you take a look, it is in your records, isn't it? Okay. And the bank has records of your first deposit, see that? But they don't have records of this deposit. Do you see it here? No. So you have to add that. Add. Deposits in transit will always be added on the bank side, always, right? Any kind of charge or fee is always subtracted from your side. And outstanding checks are always totaled, and you put them in one blank. Any questions on this one? Okay, let's see. I think I was supposed to take this one off. Let me read through it quickly. Yeah, I'll leave it on there. It's an easy problem. Okay, let's go ahead and read through it. It's a word problem. And sometimes I'll summarize some of these. You'll notice I won't read it word for word, but I'll give you what you need, and then I'll point out what's important up here in a paragraph. I might repeat the word, you know. According to Bankrate's 2008 study, ATM surcharges, bounce check fees, monthly service charges, and minimum balances are all increasing. To help reverse this trend, Hometown Bank offers a free checking account up to 9 checks written a month. It's free up to 9 checks. After the 9th check, they charge you. After 9 checks, they charge you a fee of 29 cents. There it is. Best Bank, the other bank, offers a checking account with a charge of 14 cents per check. Now that means every check you write, they charge you 14 cents, right? Sammy typically writes 15 checks per month. Basically, we're trying to figure out what is the better deal for Sammy. If he's writing 15 checks per month, which bank should he go with? Now, this is very important. This is the first time you've seen this on a quiz. You'll see it over and over throughout the course. You see where it says explanation? This is where they show how to calculate the answers. And what I would normally do at the end, or maybe in the middle of the problem, like after I read this part, is come down here sometimes and jump straight to this and explain what's going on here. Your problem, again, is just like this one. So if I'm taking notes, if I were taking notes, I would be concerned about this part.
But that's part of that. You already give to us.
Oh, on your problem, you won't see this. You know what you're asking?
Also, we have to write.
You don't have to write it in. It's just showing you how it's worked. It's showing you how the problem, any kind of calculations that are necessary will be down here in the explanation.
Yeah, but you don't see it, right?
You won't see it, no.
So that's the part you want to make sure you write down. Write down the
Yes.
number of question and then the explanation.
Now, sometimes, if I repeat a word up here at the top, you might want to write that part down. I wouldn't suggest trying to write this whole paragraph, because you're going to get the same one. But sometimes there are parts, little things in those paragraphs you have to remember. Just one little thing will change your answer in that problem. So if I emphasize that, then you want to write that down. Okay, so take a look. Question?
You want to write your own explanation down? Is that what you're saying?
This one.
It won't show, but we need to write ours down.
You
No.
don't write it down.
No, you don't have to. It's just there to show you how this problem is worked.
But you said we won't see that.
No, you won't see it.
In class, right?
So
What,
if you,
what this is for is for me to teach you and show you how it's worked out.
Oh,
That's all it's for.
okay.
And in other words, if they showed you this on your problem, they'd be giving you the answer.
Okay.
But you're going to calculate it on your problems the same way it's done on this one. Just with different numbers, that's all. The numbers up here will be different. 29 cents might be 31. So we can see Hometown Bank is the obvious answer. Let's see why. If he writes 15 checks, we subtract 9 because what? The
9 of
first
them
nine
are free.
Good. We're left with 6, so he's charged for 6 at 29 cents a piece, and it's 174. See where the answer goes? 174. And then Best Bank, he writes 15 checks there also. Now if they charge him 14 cents a check for every check, he's going to get $2.10 charged for that month, and it's going to be a little bit higher than Hometown Bank. Do you see where you plug the answer in? Okay, so if you see how this is set up, you know, this is how all the problems are going to be. Just about all of them. The previous one did not, but you know, number 2 and number 1, but most of them have this at the bottom. That's your main concern. Ready for the next one? How far down does this go? Okay, let's read this part first. Always read the problem first. The Chamber of Commerce provides a free monthly bank reconciliation template, which is just something you can use to, you know what a template is, right? You can use it to create your own. In other words, you plug in your numbers, but all the words are there for you. At this website address, I'm not going to read that whole thing. Annie just received her bank statement notice online, like most of us do. She wants to reconcile her checking account with her bank statement and has chosen to reconcile her accounts manually. Her checkbook shows a balance of $8.42. Now right here, anytime you see numbers in the paragraph, not every time, but I go over every problem and I'll show you. There's sometimes when you don't need those numbers, but most of the time you need the numbers that are up here. If the checkbook balance is $8.42, come down here. Do you recognize this problem? It's just like number, I think it was number 2 that we did. And we have to plug in the checkbook balance. That's the first thing you want to do. See that? The bank statement has a balance of $13.44. So then what are you going to do with that? Plug it into the bank balance. Got those 2 answers out of the way. Checks outstanding. They give you the numbers of the checks. Now be careful, because you want to use the numbers that have dollar signs, right? I mean, you might be rushing one day and you might put in $21.46 instead of $40. You know, you don't want that to happen. Here are all the checks that are outstanding. Now, what did we say again about checks outstanding? They only give you one blank.
You have to add them all together.
Add them all together.
All together. Good. There's the total. Okay, moving right along. Deposit in transit, we have 2 of them. $147 and $57. Do you notice they gave you just one blank for that?
You have to
So
add them
again, you
Add
add
them.
them together. Okay, $23 service charge and a $16 ATM charge.
Subtract.
There's the word charge. So you know that's a deduction from your records. And they give you a blank for both of them. So you just plug in those 2 amounts, 23 and 16, right here. Now, is there anything left? Yes, one more thing. In addition to notes collected, what did I say last class period? If you're collecting a note, that means somebody's paying you money.
So you have to add them
You're
together.
going to add that to your records, right? Notes collected. Now you notice what they did again the 3rd time. They've given us just one blank. So you have 2 notes, add them together, and there's your total. Now you go through the process of doing what? Updating the balance. You add them together, You get 906. Then you do what? You're going to add your deductions, and here's the total of the deductions. See that? 23 plus 16 is 39. And it's subtract total deductions from the previous balance, and you get your final balance. Question, please.
Thank you, man.
The bank balance, deposit in transit, we're going to add that, correct? There's our next balance. Then we deduct or subtract the outstanding checks from the previous balance, and you have your final balance. It's equal to the dollar. See that? Equal. And yours should come out the same way.
On a reconciliation, we know that there's a problem when the numbers don't match
Which
both
ones?
sides.
Oh, right here? Oh, definitely. If you get to the bottom and they're not matching, like I said, you get partial credit for the ones you put in that are right, even for these, these blanks. But if you're a stickler and you really want to get all the points for that problem, go back through and find where the mistake is, or at least try it for a few minutes. I had one student I can think of, more than one in particular. I mean, I would go and look at her record sometimes, and she would try a problem. I mean, she tried one 20 to 30 times. This was on a regular basis until she got it all right.
Man,
So, I don't know.
you must have had a lot of free time.
If I had like almost all the credit for it, and I was just missing one little answer, I would sit there for an hour. But whatever you want to do. You're welcome to ask me questions about the problems. You can email me through the classroom in G2L. And I am not going to say, okay, here's the answer, but I can probably give you a hint that will lead you to that answer. Okay. Any question about this one?
Can I point out something?
Yeah.
Notice in the red, it didn't say anything about putting a negative sign.
It surely
Really?
didn't.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it didn't say to round your answer. Make sure whenever you're doing the prompts to read what's in the red. I mean,
Always read that red stuff.
yeah, for every question, because one question will be this way and the other question will be this way.
So on one that that should have been like subtracted, if we put a minus in there, the problem would be considered wrong.
Yes.
Even though that's the correct
Yeah.
answer.
Now, if you notice down here at the bottom, let me show you what the explanation shows. We've already talked about this, but take a look at the calculations. These are most of the calculations, or at least some of them, that you have to make. They add the notes collected. Remember we talked about that? Because they only give you one blank for it. They've added the deposits in transit, and they've added together all the outstanding checks. Those are things you're going to be doing on your calculator. Right? Now, it doesn't always give you every single calculation down here, as you can see. You had to recalculate the running balance. It doesn't show you that down here in the explanation. But these, trust me, you're going to see this is a very useful area, usually. And some problems more than others. Ready for another one? Let's see if we can get it all on there. Okay. We have a local bank who is charging $5.80 each month for returned canceled checks. What is that? Does anybody still get those? Does anybody still pay to get their return canceled? You know what I'm
I've
talking about?
heard that they still do that. But
Yeah, I'm sure they do. In other words, in the old days, when we just used checks, you would write a bunch of checks, and then eventually, I think it was free most of the time. It was just part of
it was free part of your
maybe
account.
not now. But you'd write checks, and then as they passed through the merchant, the store would process it through their bank, in other words, and then eventually you would get those all together back in one
Well, they
envelope
put
from
it
your
on
bank.
bill pay now.
Huh?
They do it on bill pay, you just click on it and it'll show you each month.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, you can look on bill pay online.
You just don't get the actual check
Yeah.
back.
It just shows
You
you.
can get on for a
Yeah,
while.
it'll give
You can see the scanned check, right?
Yeah, you see a digital copy of
Got it, yeah. Everything's like that today, but the concepts are the same. Okay. So back to this. The bank also has an $8.59 maintenance fee. Let's let's go ahead and, just like I did last time, let's plug these in order as they're in the problem. I think that would be the easiest way to do this. If they're charging $5.80 each month for returning canceled checks, we know that we have to put that in our records. Do you see where it is? It's going to be in the same place in your problem, right here. We just forgot to write it in, or we just were too lazy. Now, if you know you get a $5.80 charge every month, some people are that much of a stickler about their records. I'm not. I don't know about you. I wouldn't be writing it in until the last day every month when I got my bank statement. But some people do put those in there. We're assuming the person in our examples is either lazy or just likes to wait or whatever, okay? So, what is the next thing? An $8.59 maintenance fee. Anytime you see the word fee, it's a deduction on your side. Okay? Now, moving right along. That's if the checking account slips below $750. So, obviously, as we keep reading on, did it slip below $750? It must have. You know what I'm saying? Because the charge is there. It's going to reveal that in the problem as we keep going. Okay, Donna Sands likes to have copies of her canceled checks for her income tax. She has received her statement from the bank with a balance of $547.82. Okay, there's a number for you. Where does that go?
Bank balance.
Bank balance. Donna received $264 in interest. She received an interest. Okay, so right here we're going to add that to her records. $264. And she has been charged for the canceled checks and the maintenance fee. Here are her outstanding checks. And we did these already, right? But here are the outstanding checks. Here's all of them. You would add them together and put them where? Always. Deduction on the bank's records. Okay? A deposit of $760.36 was not recorded on Donna's bank statement. They're telling you in black and white there, it has not been recorded on her bank statement. So what are you going to do? Put it in as an addition. Deposit in transit, always an addition on the bank's records. Her checkbook shows a balance of $811.23. And they tell us, why are they telling us that at the end? Should that have been the beginning?
Yeah,
That's what I would like to
that's
do.
weird.
Okay, well, make a note in your notes. Because when you work this problem, you might want to look down here to the last sentence and put that in. Because you're going to be, you might be calculating this as you're going along, right? And if you're putting in these other things here, if you don't have the beginning balance, you can't calculate your new balance. So the first thing you should do is find the bank balance and your balance, right? You should find both of these in the problem and put them in. I would think that they would usually be up at the top, but evidently not.
So when also, I'm kind of flip back, way back sort of, see where it's the add and it says you got the interest in there? It has to scroll down. So that won't be in there. You have to put what that is in that scroll
Yes,
down,
right,
right?
it was.
Okay, you'll have to choose.
A word about that, about this. Notice you get several choices, okay? There is only the possibility of one correct answer. In the event, there are a couple problems, not in this chapter, I believe it's in other chapters, I'm almost positive, where there's more than one correct answer. I think that's the accounting chapter when we're doing expenses. And we'll do that later. But for this chapter, there should be, we'll find out, that there should be only one correct answer. Nothing else here would fit, just this one. That's important to know too. Okay? So, did we finish with this? I think we did, didn't we? Yeah. You work it just like you did. It was number 2, right? Keep forgetting. There was a recon, a real short one. That was number 2. It was just like that. It's just a little bit long. Okay? Ready for another one?
Mm-hmm.
In the explanation, they show you they're adding up all the outstanding checks. See, that's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. So. Okay. We have Ben. Well, first of all, can you see what kind of problem this is? It's just like the last one. Same kind of problem. Ben receives this statement with a balance, a $27.36 fee for an NSF check. So he bounced the check, right? Okay. Now he's not aware of that yet. He should have been aware of it, like always. But he wasn't, I guess, or chose not to be. And if you notice, that's the first deduction that is listed. Okay? If you pull down the drop-down menu, let's take a look. Okay? That should be the only possible correct answer.
Well, you have a lot of deductions.
Let me see, hold
apparently.
on. Oh, no, not in this case. Okay.
Yeah.
So if this happens, which you will occasionally, as long as you get all of the answers in there and you get the amounts in there, the order is not that important. Remember that. As long as you get all of them from up here in here, the order is not necessarily that important as long as you get them in. Does that make sense?
So
Because you're going to come out with the same total regardless.
is it gonna mark you wrong if you did I like doing the bigger numbers at the top and then going down, but if you did it that way, is it gonna mark you wrong?
No, it shouldn't.
Okay.
It should not. Let me know if it does. Okay.
Okay.
So there are times where there's only one correct answer, and there's a few times where you can choose from. There's more than one correct answer in here,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to make sure you put the right amount that matches with it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, where were we? The balance check fee. He has $815.91 for his monthly mortgage payment, and it goes through his bank. Okay. Now, don't you think he would have that in his records already? Because he knows it's coming through. But what do we say? We have someone here who is irresponsible and lazy in every one of these problems. So we have to put that as a deduction to his records. He forgot to put that in, even though he knows it comes through every month. Now let me show you something one more time with this drop-down menu. As you can see, there's more than one possible correct answer. As long as you get all the deductions on here and you match the right amounts with them, you'll be okay. So you're probably going to see the same answers in every one of these. That's what I'm guessing. If I pull down every one of these, it's going to have all the choices of the deductions. See? So, moving right along. There was also a $3.05 teller fee. There's that word again. Where are we going to plug that in? Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's check right here in the next menu and see if it's there also. Let's just see.
Yep.
Yes, there it is. So you get the same choices in every menu in this problem. Okay, so I think I've made that point. All right. His ATM card fee was $6.50. $6.50. There it is right here. Okay, did I skip something there? A check printing fee, sorry, of $3.17. Notice they all end in what? Fee. Which means it's coming out of your...
Or withdraw.
It's a deduction, yeah. Or withdrawal, that's right also. A lot of fees. There was also a deposit in transit for $530.95.
Another bank.
We know, like I've said 3 times already, that it's always an addition on the bank's records. Always. Now the bank, here's your bank balance, finally. The bank shows a beginning balance of $118.89. There it is. So again, if it were me, I would put those in first. I would sift through the problem quickly. I'd go back again and read it, afterwards, but find the bank balance and the checkbook balance and put those in first. The checkbook balance is right here, see it? Now, in between there was something else. The bank paid Ben $1.24 in interest. They paid him. So he is gaining that. Where is that going to be shown? Under additions to his side.
That makes up for the $12 they're charging him in fees.
Somewhat. Yeah. I don't think they even pay much interest.
Now, it's at the bank statement. I would think the bank would go on the bank balance, not on his.
Why is that?
I don't know, because the word bank.
Well, the bank has record of it. They should. If
So
they
it wouldn't
paid
go on
it.
the ad?
No, because the bank is losing money. They're giving it to him.
So would it go under da-da?
No, it's already on their records. See what I'm saying? You don't have a record of it in your check register. That's why
But
it's
when we
here.
do the other side, would we add that on the other side?
No, because the bank would have a record of it automatically once they do it.
Saying the bank balance, because you have to add what, I don't know.
Well, it says right.
Okay.
You look at the words. That might help.
That's
it
what
says
I'm
the
saying,
bank
the bank
pays
paid.
him. Right. The bank's
So
giving
that
up
wouldn't be
that
on there,
money.
it wouldn't be on theirs then. It would
No.
only be on, why?
Why? Because they already have record of it.
It's already accounted for.
All these
It's already
things here are
accounted for.
things that the bank
We don't
doesn't-
have record
or
of.
we don't have record of
Oh,
yet.
okay.
But the bank, we're assuming that the bank has record that they, of all their customers, that they pay them interest every month. But we don't have a record of it. So we add it in there. And then here are the outstanding checks, right? You have how many? 1, 2, see them?
Mm-hmm.
You add them together and they go right
Okay.
here. And then of course, you understand how to do this part, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just keeping a running balance, either adding or subtracting from the balance and updating it. Look down at the bottom. Again, all these show you here. The explanations are not very useful, in this chapter. They just show you the addition of the outstanding checks. That's it. Ready for another one?
So they don't round up though, no?
They should. If they ask you to round up, they should be rounding up on you.
Okay.
Huh?
There's nothing on there rounded.
No.
It doesn't need to be rounded though, because it's all to the.
Let's see. It says round your answers to 2 decimal places. Well, everything is given in 2 decimal. I suppose you don't,
Okay.
But if you add things together, if you're adding and doing subtracting, no, I guess you would need it, huh?
No, it's more money.
As long as you're paying attention to this red stuff here, I think you'll be okay. Is that a big problem, or?
It's 2 different places, that's it. I said 3, there'd be another number after the 5.
The red is telling you something to do.
Yeah.
What you do. That's stupid.
You don't have to round it.
I was about to say, I'm not rounding.
I'm sure it won't cause a problem, though.
Let's hope not.
That's good, somebody didn't have
Should
one
being the
better
operative
than-
word.
Okay, I have a few more left to do.
There's a
We have
rounding.
Cameron. Now, do you notice again? It's another bank. We have a lot of bank recons here, reconciliations, like I told you. We have Cameron. The bank shows a balance on their statement of $1276.93. Bam, plug that in. Cameron's checkbook had a balance of $12,981. Plug that in. Now, again, if I wrote these problems out would be how I would set it up. Those would be the first 2 sentences.
Yep.
It's the first thing you got to plug in, usually. Now, here's the check numbers for what? The outstanding checks, and there are 2 of them. You add them together and put them
Right there.
as a deduction on the bank side. A deposit of $62.66 was not on the statement. $62.66 was not on the statement. Now, it doesn't say deposit in transit, but it uses the word statement. So what do we know? That's the bank statement. And they're talking about this deposit in transit. He has his payroll check electronically deposited to his checking account. Direct deposit, right? The payroll check this period was for $1,025.51. So direct deposit, we're going to add that in on our side, even though we should normally know, if we're getting a direct deposit, and we would put that in our check records. Unless you get a different paycheck every pay period. But aren't they usually the same? Well, it depends if you're a wage, hourly worker or a salary worker. Okay. Where was I? 1025. Right. There was also a $4.61 teller fee, a deduction on your records, and an 1820 service charge, a deduction on your records. Add the deductions together as usual. Bring it over. Keep a running balance. At the end, the balances are equivalent.
On this one, it says he has his payroll check electronically deposited to his checking account.
Okay.
So the bank knew about it, he didn't. That's right.
That's what I said earlier. That's what I was saying.
You can't think of these
I know
problems
what
too
you
hard, it'll twist you up.
Well, usually, now unless you are an hourly worker, you might get a different paycheck every pay period. But if you're salaried, it's going to be the same to the cent, usually every pay period. So you would have that in your checking records. Again, we have someone who doesn't keep up their records. Right. So we're doing it for them. Otherwise, they would have to do more.
Will you get paid for it?
I'm gonna start charging.
I want
Yeah.
to say, I want to be paid for
Yeah.
Yeah, we do get paid for it. Ace.
Yeah.
Touche.
Now, notice again, in the explanation, all they do is add up the outstanding checks for you. That's it. Okay, a few more.
No more.
All right. So, just about all your problems here are reconciliations.
It's
Good practice.
just follow.
The banks are finding ways to charge more fees. We know that, such as a $25.98 overdraft fee. Now, keep that in the back of your mind for a second. Sue has an account in Fayetteville. She has received her bank statement with a $25.98 charge. So she had an overdraft. You can see that, right? Which means she didn't have enough money in her account, correct? So we know that we have to come down here and deduct it. Let's see if it's also listed in the first answer choice. Is it there?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm talking about now? So it doesn't matter what order you put them in.
Should have done the same answer.
Long you'll get the same answer. Yeah.
That's what I'm
All right.
trying.
So also she was charged $6.53 for a service fee or a service charge. They call it a fee up here. Down here it's called a charge. Same thing. So $6.53 deduct from your records or her records. However, the good news is that she earned $5.36 in interest. Wow. That might get you to work that day.
You get paid taxes on that.
You gotta pay taxes on it.
15%.
Hey, that was better than what, like $1.28?
Might get you a gallon of gas.
Honestly, my interest is so low on my checking account balance, I never even report it. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I've never reported it in 1 year. I mean, it's not even.
Tax.
You can have thousands in there on a regular basis, $3,000 to $5,000 at any given time, and my interest is at the end of the year, it's less than $20. Seriously. So anyway, so we got that part, right? We're going to add that in on her records. Her bank statement balance was $313.66. So statement balance might be the first thing you want to put in, right? If you can sift through the problem and find it. It did not show a $12.15 and 96 cents deposit that she had made. It did not show it. which means it's a deposit in transit. The bank statement did not show that. Okay, that's the it right here, the bank statement. Sue's checkbook balance shows 604.71. There it is. First blank. Here are the outstanding checks. We're going to add all these together, put them in one blank. Okay? So we've done like 5 of these problems at least already. You can see how they work.
Yeah, I'm getting the mix up with the bank statement did not show it. Why are you putting it on the bank side and not on her side?
Like, for instance,
I guess it's the way it's worded that's
right here?
twisting my thought.
Because if the bank statement is not showing it, that means they have no record of it. That's why we have to put it in form.
The bank doesn't know that the deposit's been made.
You know about the deposit, but the bank does
Doesn't
not
know it
show
yet.
it. They
So
don't know.
what's up there in the paragraph that we don't know about is put over there, like the charges and fees.
Yes, what we don't
See
know
what I'm
about.
saying? What the
That's
wording
right.
on
Yeah.
where exactly they're supposed to lock in.
It's whatever they're missing in their records, and whatever we're missing in ours.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. Okay, so you ready for another one?
Yeah.
A couple more? Did we finish that one? Yes. Okay. All right, so you should be pretty used to these by now. Now, some of the differences you might be noticing is the names of the fees, like IRS refund. We didn't have that before. We have Carol. She receives her bank statement showing a balance of $860.42. So immediately you do what?
Plug it in.
Put in the bank balance. Her checkbook balance, here it is here. Immediately, plug it in. The bank statement shows an ATM charge of $25.31 down here. Now you could probably put it in either one of these blanks if the choice is in both menus.
They just do it in order that it comes in.
You could do it in order. That's what I would do. Yeah, that's what I would do. NSF fee of $27.62. That's the next thing. Okay. Earned interest. Earned, which means you're getting it.
None of those are real high.
It's not even again.
That's too high. That's probably even too high. 226. So we're going to add that to our records. It's going to really bump us up.
Go to Cripple
And then
Creek.
Carol's $650 or $630.65 refund check. Refund. Now, if you're getting a refund, that means you're getting money. And it's from the IRS, right? Processed by the IRS, deposited directly to her checking account. Now that's something that you might know it's coming, but you don't know exactly when. So maybe you might not know when they're putting it in check register. Usually it's about, they do it pretty quickly now. It's about
Yeah,
2
7
to
to 10 business days.
if you use TurboTax online. Right?
Yeah.
Or IRA or
Or one of those other websites.
Yeah.
H&R 714.
There's a few of them now.
It's actually a loan.
It's a what?
Well, H&R Block, it's actually a loan they give to you. They
I
actually
never used
they
it.
give you the loan. Well, it comes within 7 to 14 days, and you have it like on an enroll card.
Okay.
And what they do is they give you your taxes back on that card, which you're due to get back, but it's considered a loan. And yet they,
Sounds complicated.
yeah, it's considered
sounds-
that
I
they're
don't
loaning
know
you the
that.
money that you're getting back. So basically, it's going to go straight to H&R Block. They're just giving you a loan on it.
Okay. Yeah, it's just
It's
like,
how they
it's just like
explain it to me.
And they
extra
charge you an arm and a
Um,
leg.
Yeah, they do charge you, but you
So,
know,
well, for years I've been using TurboTax.com,
That's what I use, yeah.
and it brings you through every step of the way. You know, every step.
I like the fact that
Okay.
they messed up. They are gonna have the attorneys to fix it.
Carol has 2 checks that have not cleared. Here they are. That means they're outstanding checks. You add those amounts together, and you put them in this one blank. There is also a deposit in transit, stated clearly here, 1402.16, you know where that goes by now. Okay? And then of course at the end, as you keep your running balance, you should end up with the same exact balance after you kept your running balance. Okay, so chapter 5 is totally different. You will see it has nothing to do with this. You think this is boring. Okay? Ready for another one? We have one more.
Let me guess. Reconcile. Yep.
Okay. Now, it really didn't have, in the quiz banks, there really wasn't much more than this. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have so many of these. Okay, last one. We have Lowell Bank. They're reporting the following checking account fees. $283 to see a real live teller.
Wow.
Is that reality?
What?
Yeah.
Probably.
Sometimes some banks, if they'll charge you for just going through the drive-through.
Shouldn't it? Well,
They used to. They're not. The government.
what usually happens is banks are consolidating, which means they're merging and they're acquiring each other, and we're getting less banks. And if that's the case, what usually happens is if you get less suppliers of some product, whatever it is, like banking or some service, they can usually have more control and more power over us. You see what I'm trying to say? If you had more competitors, they'd be competing and saying, hey, free this, free that. But whenever you have just 5 major banks now, 10 major banks, whatever, now they have more power.
Mm-hmm.
So they can charge you for these things, and what are you going to say?
Welcome to free
Like
enterprise.
Comcast.
Right. It's like Comcast. And
There's very few cases.
so, but look at what's going on here. We don't plug this 283 in anywhere. We're not done with it yet. It takes $23 to process a bounced check. So just keep these things in the back of your mind. They are not part of the answers here on problem number 10. A word to the wise. If you're taking notes, which a lot of people are, you might want to write the number of the problem. Is anybody doing that?
Yes, I do.
As you're going through, number 1, number 2. And there'll be some that we skip. So some chapters, you're going to see, you haven't seen it yet, but the next one you'll probably see it. When I pull up problem 1, for instance, it'll say instructor has deleted this problem, which means you don't have to do that one. Okay, it was there at one time. So take a look. 23 bucks to process a bounce check. $1, or it says $1 to $7 if you need an original check to prove you paid a bill or made a charitable contribution. Okay, so far, none of these amounts are actually, none of these actual numbers are in here yet. So problem 10 is a special problem. It's a little different from the other ones. Okay? The past month, you had to transact business through a teller 6 times. Now, that becomes relevant because we're going to take 6 and multiply it times 283, and we get a total of 1698 to see that live teller. And where does that go? Under teller fee. Does everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Your bank statement shows a balance of $304.50. We know that goes right at the top. Your checkbook shows a balance of $1013.91. We know that goes right at the top here. You received $182 in interest. We've had this a couple times already. You add it to your records. Add it to your records. You're receiving it. Now, a deposit for 801.36 was not recorded on your statement. Don't be confused by the word statement there. Look at the word your. Okay? But, well, actually, it is referring to the bank statement. So there it is right there. Deposit in transit, 801.36. Statement's the key word again. The following checks are outstanding, and you have how many? 1, 2, 3. Down here at the bottom, again, they show you that they're adding those 3 together, and you put the total in the deduction side of the bank statement. So it's just a lot of repetition in this chapter, mainly, right? Any questions so far? Okay, we have 5 minutes. Let's take a look at, let's see if I can get student assignment view. I think that's the button. Oh, come on. Just making it all the way back through. Just want to show or see what we can see in the student assignment view, chapter 4. It should let me in.
Did you unlock it?
Okay, there we go. I don't know why that happened. All right. Let's see. Oh, I see what it's saying. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second. I just got to set something real quick. I'm going to change this later. I'm just doing it now so we can
Go on and do the test now. Go, 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 go.
just hurry and show you something, or try to show you something before we get out of here. Okay, this is supposedly what it looks like for the student. As you can see, all the blanks have nothing in them. So you have to fill those in, right? There's your drop-down boxes where you choose those answers. Do you see an explanation down at the bottom?
Nope.
No. Now those weren't useful in chapter 4. In other chapters, they're going to be extremely useful. Very. Because it shows everything, how everything is calculated. Okay, so let's just say, I'm not sure how much this is going to help. Oh, I didn't check off the check your work button. But I can tell you this, because I'm running out of time. Over here, I think it's somewhere, and I know it is, it's somewhere down at the bottom. Once I put the settings in, there's a little button that says check my work. And you'll click that and it'll tell you, give you a green check mark everywhere, every number, or every blank.
Like
that
it'll
is
show
correct.
that and then check every blank you have
It
correct.
will, and then put a little red X next to the ones that are wrong. And then